Scoring a test century is every batter's dream, but converting your very first test 100 into a double one, that's a feat reserved for a very special group of cricketers. And now West Indies' Amir Jangoo has added his name to that elite list. In just his third test innings, Jangoo turned up his maiden test century into magnificent 233, sharing a record-breaking 401 partnership with his captain Roston Chase, who himself scored 194. Today we are looking at Jangoo's remarkable knock and revisiting some famous cricketers who converted their first test century into a double one. Before this test, Amir Jangoo was relatively unknown to international cricket, but against Sri Lanka in Antigua, he produced an innings which will be remembered forever. After reaching his maiden test 100, Jangoo didn't slow up, he accelerated and eventually finished on 233. Remarkably, he reached his double century in just 116 balls after bringing up his century. Alongside Austin Chase's 194, Jangoo helped West Indies pile up 626 for 9. That 401 run partnership became the highest 6th wicket partnership in the entire test history. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this innings is that his maiden test 100 became the double 100. And some of the members of this elite club is as shown in the list below. But we'll talk about some players who are remembered forever for such elite records. The first name that comes into my mind is R.E. Foster. Let's travel all the way back to 1903. England's R.E. Foster announced himself with 287 on test debut against Australia. More than 100 years later, this remains one of the greatest introductions to test cricket ever. Second name that comes into my mind is Lawrence Rowe. In 1972, Lawrence Rowe made 214 on test debut against New Zealand, and as if this was not enough, he made another test century in the same match in the second innings. Sri Lanka's Brendan Kurupu is third on the list, who scored an unbeaten 201 in 1987 against New Zealand. His maiden test 100 became double 100 and remains one of the Sri Lanka's most memorable debut performances. Now, very few players exploded onto the scene quite like Vinod Kambli. His first test century became 224 against England in Mumbai in 1993, and the following test he scored another double century, an extraordinary beginning which ended in the later part of his career, unfortunately. Kumar Sangakkara, one of the greatest batters of the modern era, scored maiden test 100 into 230 against Pakistan in 2002. It was an early glimpse of the greatness to come. More recently, India's Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 171 on debut and then converted his maiden test 100 into 209 against England in 2024, a sign of massive talent India has unearthed. And now think about it. The player has reached his first test 100, the pressure is gone, the celebrations have begun, but to stay focused for another 100 test runs requires a different level of concentration, fitness and temperament. That is why very few cricketers have managed to convert their maiden test 100 into a double century. It's not just about talent, it's about hunger. And now Amir Jangoo has joined that exclusive club. At just his third test innings, he has given the West Indies fans a hope that another test batting star may be emerging. But cricket history also teaches us that the spectacular start guarantees nothing. Take West Indies batter Jimmy Adams. In 1996, Adam announced himself as one of the brightest talents in the Caribbean cricket by scoring an unbeaten 208 against New Zealand. He was a dependable batter, a useful left-arm spinner, and many believed that West Indies had found a future great. Over time, Adams became known for his patience and defensive technique. While those qualities initially helped them succeed, his batting gradually lost momentum later on. The big scores became less frequent, the captaincy brought additional pressure, and eventually he lost both the leadership and his place in the side. He still finished with a respectable average of 41, but a towering career many predicted never fully materialized. That's why Amir Jangoo's story is only beginning. A double century in your major first test 100 gets people talking, but what separates a memorable innings from a memorable career is consistency. The question is, was this the start of a great test career or simply a once in a lifetime test innings like Jimmy Adams? Let me know in the comments, and if you've enjoyed the cricket history deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe and follow Rarest of Cricket for more fascinating stories from the game. Thank you.